This is Roger Hibbard and his beautiful wife Elizabeth, and tonight we're in the 29th chapter of Job. And Job's summary defense says, And Job again took up the discourse and said, Oh, that I were as in the months of old, as in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone upon my head. And by his light I walked through darkness, as I was in my prime, when the friendship of God was upon my tent, when the Almighty was yet with me. You know, it said to begin with that Job was one of the richest men in the East, and he had those 10 children, and he was so rich, and everything was going like he says now. When my children were all around me, when my steps were washed with butter, and the rock poured out for me streams of oil, when I went out to the gate of the city, when I prepared my seat in the square, the young men saw me and withdrew, and the aged rose and stood. He was in a good prime, wasn't he? The princes refrained from talking and laid their hand on their mouth. The voice of the nobles were hushed, and their tongues stuck to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard it, called me blessed, and when the eye saw it, approved, because I delivered the poor who cried for help, and the fatherless who had none to help him. The blessings of him who was about to perish came upon me, and I caught the widow's heart, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a turban. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. You know, his 3 friends, when they saw poor old Job eaten up with boils and poor as everything, had lost all his wealth. It was like a wormy worm sitting there with ashes on his head. And they said, oh, you were just so terrible. You did so many bad things. Well, they didn't know that, but they were able to cast aspersions at him because he just looked so bad. Anybody looked that bad must have been really bad. Job goes on to say, I was a father to the needy, and I searched out the case of him whom I did not know. I broke the fangs of the unrighteous and made him drop his prey from his teeth. Then I thought, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My roots spread out to the waters, with the dew all night on my branches. My glory fresh with me, and my bow ever new in my hand. Men listened to me and waited, and kept silence for my counsel. After I spoke, they did not speak again, and my word dropped upon them. They waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouths as for the spring rain. Wow, Job, wow, you're really going. I spilled on them when they had no confidence. I smiled on them when they had no confidence, and the light of my face they did not cast down. I chose their way and sat as chief, and I lived like a king among his troops, like one who comforts mourners. Wow. Job was really living the high life, wasn't he, compared to what he has now? Well, now we're going to Haggai, and we're going to be through with the Old Testament right away.